Ilia Topuria is the biggest name in the UFC as of today. He knocked out Charles Oliveira in spectacular fashion in the first round at UFC 317. The video has already got 10 million views. And I'm going to be honest, today we're going to talk about the biggest fight that can be possibly made that can be possibly made for Ilia Topuria by the UFC. It's big yams, guys. Let's get into today's video. So as you guys would have seen, Ilia Topuria knocked out Charles Oliveira on the weekend at UFC 317 in the first round, making him the UFC lightweight champion of the world. It's crazy because his trajectory and journey has been very, very similar to that of Mr. McGregor. And it's crazy they both have been calling their fights. They both have called their fights and said how they will win their fights and what round, etc., etc. And they're backing it up and doing exactly that. Ilia Topuria is without a doubt the biggest star in the UFC currently. He has surpassed Islam Makhachev's followers on Instagram. That doesn't really mean too much to me, in my opinion, but it just shows what the followers shows is that a lot of people are invested in what Ilia does. So that does make him currently the biggest, if not the biggest, one of the biggest. And if I'm honest, guys, I'm not the biggest fan of Ilia, but I'm starting to like him. And I do like his fighting style, though. I won't take that away from him. I study his fighting style quite a lot. I really do like his fighting style. But him as a whole, maybe it's because I've seen McGregor, and it's like this is kind of like a watered down version. But yeah, whether I like him or not, guys, whether you like him or not, you cannot deny greatness. That's one thing. Even Mr. McGregor, Mr. Mac, has given Topuria his props. Because at the end of the day, whether you like him, hate him, you cannot deny his greatness. And with all that being said, I know they brought Paddy into the octagon after, which I personally don't agree with. At the post-fight press conference, Dana White said that shouldn't have happened anyway. I don't think Paddy has done enough to deserve the title shot. Paddy and Ilia entered the UFC roughly at the same time, and look at what one's done in that space of time, and look what the other has done. And it's crazy to think that Ilia Topuria has already climbed the rankings and become the champion in Paddy's division. So with all that being said, he does not deserve the title shot, and I'm sorry, he's beat. As much as Ilia is beating, Max is not out of his prime. He's still in his prime, although Max has taken a lot of damage in his career. But the fact that he was able to knock out Max Holloway is a big thing. Max has never been knocked out. Then we got Alex Volkanovski. I know he came off a KO, but look, he just won the belt back. Charles Oliveira, he's been in that top number one contender spot or number two spot. He's been floating around those sort of rankings for a while now. He's fought the best of the best, beat the best. So when you compare the two resumes, Ilia Topuria, even though people will say, "Oh, these are old guys that he's beaten, legends," but these guys are still at the top. Like, they're still at the top of their divisions. So as much as we can use that as a negative, there's many positives. I gotta give it to Ilia. There's many positives. And then when we look at Paddy, he's beating these older guys who are coming off losses anyway. So it's like, you can't compare the two. Tony Ferguson has been on a losing streak, so we kind of expected that. Bobby Green, I'm almost certain, was coming off I think he won, but the fight before that he lost. So it's like, Come on, man, you can't compare the two. And then Paddy just beat Chandler. But Chandler, like, respectfully, I did think Chandler would beat Paddy, but Chandler's just, he's not that guy anyway. So it's like none of these wins Paddy has had is special. So I don't think the UFC should make Ilia versus Paddy. Don't get me wrong, it is a good matchup down the line. But as of now, I don't think that's the fight to make. Someone I would like to see fight for the title is Arman Sarukian. Obviously, Dana is still saying Arman's not getting the title shot next. Fair enough. And if I'm honest, I do think in the lightweight division, when it comes to Ilia and Islam, there is only one guy, in my opinion, that can actually give them a run for their money and make the fight really competitive and have a very big chance of winning. I don't think anyone else can do that apart from Arman Sarukian. That's just my opinion, guys. But I do not think that is the biggest fight for Ilia. Next up, we could have Justin Gaethje. But quickly, with all that being said, Arman, he's been out since last year. He was meant to fight at UFC 311. So if they're not gonna give him the title shot, they need to book him versus Oliveira too. And I think Arman Sarukian will win that one. And the next matchup the UFC could make is Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. But personally, I don't want to see that fight. I know Justin is throwing a little tantrum right now and saying that the UFC owe him, and if he's not fighting for the title, he's going to retire. But I'm going to be honest, Ilia sleeps him. I'm sorry. Ilia sleeps Justin Gaethje. I'm sorry. There's no debate in that. Like, yes, Justin Gaethje is a brawler. You know, he'll stand and bang. He's got good leg kicks. But he's going to go into the fire. He's going to try and fight fire with fire. And I'm sorry, Ilia sleeps him. Ilia's boxing technique and power is just levels above everybody else. And looking at that lightweight division, I do think Ilia is probably one of the most well-rounded and most skillful fighters in that division. So with that being said, I do think he finishes Justin Gaethje. I mean, Max finished Gaethje, and I know MMA maths doesn't work like that, but you've got to see it like this. Max moved up in weight and was able to do that. Ilia has moved up to lightweight, and he looks more comfortable, more powerful, and I do believe he has the skill set and the power to put out Justin Gaethje. And Justin Gaethje gets hit. As much as he hasn't been hurt as much as Oliveira, he still gets hit quite a lot. And with the power Ilia possesses, I do think he has the power to put out Justin Gaethje. And personally, I don't want to see that fight. That is not the fight to make. I'll rather see him fight Arman Sarukian or even Paddy. I don't want to see Ilia fight Justin Gaethje, respectfully. So that leaves one man. And the fight to make, guys, is Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. That is literally McGregor versus Habib 2. Yeah, that's the vibes it's given. Literally. Obviously, we know Ilia has a wrestling background. But when you actually look at what he has done in the UFC and how he is fighting, you would think the guy's a striker. Islam comes from a wrestling background. And, you know, Khabib's protege. So it's like, you know, we've got Ilia, the loudmouth, who literally emulates McGregor. And then we've got Islam, who is Khabib's protege. So I think that's the fight to make. That is the biggest fight to make, because this is the question everyone wants to know. Will Ilia Topuria, because Ilia will land on Makhachev. There's no questions about that. It's not if, it's when. So if they do book this fight, it's a question of when Ilia lands. Does he sleep Islam? And then the other question is, if Islam takes Topuria down, will Topuria be able to deal with the wrestling and the wrestling strength? Because listen, as much as that is the fight to make, and I think it's a 50-50 fight, and I lean more towards Ilia. I'm not going to lie, after seeing him against Charles, I lean more to Ilia. Even before that, I do believe if Ilia gets taken down by Islam, I do believe he will struggle a little bit because, okay, let's go back to the Charles Oliveira fight with Ilia. When Charles and Ilia exchanged in the grappling, yes, Ilia ended up getting top position. But when Oliveira initiated the clinch and grabbed Ilia Topuria, Ilia did look like he was struggling a little bit. That Oliveira did, in my opinion, Oliveira did look strong when he had a hold of Ilia. Obviously, Ilia did end up on top and was able to get out of Oliveira's guard. The fight went back to the feet, but I don't think if Islam was to take Ilia down, I do think Ilia would struggle a little bit. And I did say if Ilia gets taken down by Charles, I do believe Ilia would be able to deal with it, and he showed that he can deal with it. Even though he struggled for maybe about 30 seconds or however long it was, he showed he can deal with it. But Islam is another level, man. I'm going to be honest, guys. When it comes to the wrestling, Islam is another level. But then again, every fight starts standing up, and Ilia's, I'm not even going to say striking. His MMA boxing is the best I've ever seen. And look how Islam got stopped. Was it in his debut? Um, and I'm not being funny, with a technical boxer, let's say striker like Ilia Topuria, I do think Ilia can set up them shots because I'm sorry, Islam's boxing IQ, I know it's MMA, but when it comes to the striking and the throwing of hands, Islam's IQ is nowhere near Ilia's. I'm sorry. So I do think Ilia will be able to set him up, and I do believe Ilia will be able to land that killer shot. The question is, can Islam take the power? But that is the biggest fight, in my opinion, to make. I just hope, if I was the UFC, I would scrap JDM. Even the commentators, Joe Rogan, Daniel Cormier, and John Anik were saying it after 317. It was like, if I was the matchmakers, I would be calling up Makachev and say, don't worry about JDM, you need to come back and fight Ilia. That is the biggest fight to make. And my worries is this. If JDM smokes Islam, if he beats Islam versus Ilia Topuria is no longer as big of a fight. So they need to make this fight. Don't get me wrong, if Islam beats JDM and has the I don't know what's fucking going on, guys. I'm losing my fucking words. But if Islam was to go out and beat Jack Della Maddalena and he captures that welterweight belt, I'm not gonna lie, that will be one of the biggest fights we've seen in recent years. As much as I said this fight is McGregor versus Islam part number 2, it's giving that vibes. I don't think any fight will ever come close to Conor McGregor and Khabib. Like, the real hatred, the level of hatred, it even went out onto the streets. Even till today, if they saw each other in the streets, they would get it cracking. So it wouldn't be as big as McGregor versus Khabib, but it will definitely be one of the biggest fights in recent years. And I do think it has the potential to set a record in terms of pay-per-view buys. So yeah, I personally think that's the fight to make. I don't know about you guys. Comment below who you think Ilia Topuria should fight next. If you want to see more videos like this, like and subscribe. Leave your comments below. It's Big Yems, guys. In a bit.